Have you ever thought about how much data Twitter handles every day?
Yeah.
It's a crazy amount.
Yeah, it's wild.
We're talking an exabyte of data.
An exabyte?
1 billion gigabytes.
Wow.
That's enough to fill over 1 million laptops.
1 million laptops. Wow.
So today, we're going to do a deep dive into a blog post written by some Twitter engineers.
Okay.
They took on this huge task.
Huge.
Of moving this mountain of data to Google Cloud.
Yeah. I was reading about that. It's not just the amount of data that's impressive, it's what they wanted to do with it.
Huh?
Twitter wanted to make it possible for every employee to be able to analyze and use all this data, basically, democratizing data across the entire company.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. It's like you're taking this library that was only accessible to a select few, and you're opening the doors for everyone to explore it. So what were some of the biggest obstacles they ran into?
Well, at first, they tried to just move the data manually from their own system. It's called Hadoop to Google's BigQuery.
Okay.
BigQuery is like a supercharged database.
Right.
It's meant to handle these enormous data sets, but it's like, imagine trying to move a mountain of sand 1 bucket at a time. Yeah. They were limited by bandwidth, the speed at which they could transfer the data.
Right.
They got bogged down by all these technical issues. Yeah. It was a mess.
And their blog post even mentions it took 2 weeks to onboard each data set.
I know.
Using this manual approach. That means 2 weeks before anyone could even start analyzing it.
Exactly. It was incredibly inefficient.
Right.
Plus, different teams were essentially reinventing the wheel, each figuring out their own way to move data.
Oh, wow.
It's like having 100 chefs kind of cook in the same kitchen, and nobody knows what anybody else is doing.
Yeah, so they had a data traffic jam.
Yes.
And a kitchen nightmare.
Exactly.
How did they solve this?
They realized they needed to automate the process.
Okay.
Instead of doing it by hand.
Right. They decided to build a system using existing tools.
Okay.
Like data flow and airflow.
Okay.
Data flow is like a high-speed conveyor belt. Designed to move these large amounts of data very quickly and efficiently.
Right.
While airflow helps manage and automate all the steps in the process.
Gotcha. And the results were pretty impressive, right?
Oh, for sure. By automating, they managed to onboard over 1,000 data sets.
Wow.
Using a single configuration file.
Wow.
So they essentially wrote a set of instructions just once.
Right.
And after that, the system just handled everything.
It's amazing.
With thousands of different data sets.
So they went from 2 weeks to onboard a data set all the way down to...
It's down to 1 hour.
1 hour. That's insane.
I know. It's like going from a horse and buggy to a supersonic jet.
And it wasn't just about speed, right?
Oh, no. Automation also brought a lot of other benefits. For example, engineers were freed from all these boring manual tasks.
They now had this centralized system to keep an eye on all their data pipelines.
Right.
And the whole process became much less error-prone.
That's great. So they streamlined their workflow.
Yeah.
Improved accuracy.
Yep.
And freed up their engineers.
Exactly.
To work on more, creative and strategic tasks.
For sure.
Sounds like a win-win-win.
Definitely.
But this wasn't just about making the engineers' jobs easier, was it?
No, not at all.
It had kind of a ripple effect across the whole organization.
Yeah, I mean, this shift to automation, it was crucial for Twitter to achieve its goal of democratizing data analysis.
Right.
Imagine a marketing team wanting to understand user trends or a product team that needs data to decide what their next feature should be with this new system.
Yeah.
They could just get the info they needed quickly and easily without having to rely on engineers to manually pull the data for them.
So it's like giving everybody in the company
a
key to the data vault.
That's a great way to put it.
But what about the tech behind it all?
Yeah.
I mean, they switched from these things called scalding jobs to data flow.
Yes.
Can you explain that a little bit?
Sure. So scalding jobs are writing a whole bunch of separate instructions for how to handle each little piece of data. It was super time consuming, really cumbersome.
Right.
Data flow, though, is much more flexible.
Right.
It's like having a universal translator for all this data. It can handle all these different formats, structures, even old code from the early days of Twitter.
So data flow was the key
Yes.
to unlocking all this data
Right.
that was trapped in different formats. It's almost like having a master key that can open any door.
Exactly.
In this data vault.
That's a great analogy. And remember, we're talking about an exabyte of data.
Yeah.
Which is just mind-blowing.
It's a hard number to even fathom.
Like, to put that in perspective,
yeah,
it's like all the data in the Library of Congress times 10,000.
Wow, that's huge.
It's a lot.
So they had the tools.
Yes.
They had the vision.
Yes.
They had the data. But there was one more thing they had to think about.
Right.
That's super important when you're dealing with data on this scale.
What's that?
Resource management.
Right, of course.
They had to work closely with Google
to
make sure they had enough computing power to process this flood of information.
It's like building a highway that can handle 1 million cars at once.
And that collaboration with Google, that was really important, wasn't it?
Oh, absolutely. They needed Google's expertise and their infrastructure to scale up their operations and to support this massive data pipeline.
Right.
It's a reminder that even if you have the best solutions, you still need the resources to bring them to life.
Okay, so we've talked about the problem.
Yes.
The solution. And how important resource management is.
Right.
But the real question is, what did Twitter actually do with all this data once they could access it easily?
Yeah, what did they do?
We'll dive into that in the next part of our deep dive. Stay tuned. Welcome back. We just finished talking about how Twitter managed to get all this data up to the cloud.
Yeah.
But having data is only good if you actually use it.
Right. It's like having all the ingredients but no recipe.
Exactly.
Right.
So what's the recipe? How do they actually take all that data and make it work for them?
Well, first off, they wanted to make sure everyone in the company could actually use it. Like their initial goal, remember?
Yeah, democratizing data.
Right. So imagine you're on the marketing team, right? And you're trying to figure out what users are interested in.
Okay.
Or maybe you're on the product team and you need to figure out what features to build next.
Right. Before, they'd have to go to the engineers.
Exactly. It was a total bottleneck.
So with this new system, they could get it themselves?
Yeah. Super quick and easy.
Run their own analysis?
Yep. Test their own theories.
It's pretty amazing.
It is. And they saw some crazy results from it.
Oh, yeah.
Like what?
Well, their blog talks about a few things, like advertising.
Okay.
Using all that data, they could target their ads much better.
So instead of seeing random ads, you're more likely to see something you're actually interested in.
Exactly. It's better for users and for advertisers.
Makes sense. Where else did they see an impact?
Well, their machine learning models got way better, too.
Oh, right, because machine learning needs tons of data, right?
Tons. The more data it has, the better it gets at figuring things out.
So basically, the more data they fed their algorithms, the smarter those algorithms got.
Yep. They were able to make things like spam detection and content recommendations.
Right. Much better.
Even personalize things for each user.
Exactly. Instead of just seeing a random jumble of tweets, you're more likely to see stuff you actually care about, based on what you've done before and who you follow.
It's like having a personal assistant.
Kinda.
For your Twitter feed.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it. So yeah, they were able to use this data to create a much more, personalized and engaging experience.
So better advertising, smarter algorithms, and a more personalized experience. Sounds good to me. But did it actually make a difference for Twitter? Like real results?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Remember, we're talking about a company with millions of users generating mountains of data.
Right.
By using it the right way, they can make better decisions about everything.
From building new features to running their marketing campaigns.
Exactly.
It's amazing what you can do when you have data to back up your decisions.
I know, right? No more just guessing and hoping for the best.
And this isn't just happening at Twitter.
Oh, absolutely not.
This is across all kinds of businesses.
Yep. The ones that can use data well will have a big advantage.
Data's like a superpower these days.
For sure. And Twitter Story is a great example of how to invest in that superpower the right way.
Before we move on to the final part, let's take a second to think about what we've learned so far.
Good idea.
What are some things our listeners should keep in mind?
Well, I think the biggest takeaway is that data can be really powerful.
Yeah.
But you got to know how to use it right. You need clear goals.
Right.
The right tools for the job. And everyone needs to be on board with making data-driven decisions.
So it's not enough to just have the data.
Nope.
You have to know what to do with it.
You got to ask the right questions, You got to find the answers, and then you got to actually use those answers to do something.
It's a process.
It is.
And it's not just for big companies like Twitter.
Right.
Definitely not. This applies to everyone. Small businesses.
Yeah.
Individuals. Everyone. It's about understanding data.
Yeah.
Being aware of its power.
Uh-huh.
And using it to make better choices.
And it's not just a technical thing either.
Oh, right. It's about people.
It's about how people communicate, how they work together, and how willing they are to learn both from the data itself and from each other.
So as we go into the final part of our deep dive,
Okay.
I want you to think about all these things.
Got it.
We're going to talk about what Twitter's story means in the bigger picture.
Uh-huh.
And what it tells us about the future of data. Welcome back to the deep dive. We've been digging into how Twitter moved all their data to the cloud.
Yeah, an exabyte of data.
And how it's changing things for them.
It shows just how much things are changing for businesses in general. I mean, it used to be you'd make decisions based on, I don't know, your gut feeling or whatever.
Yeah.
But now we've got all this data.
We do?
We can actually analyze it. So we're moving into this like data-driven world.
And Twitter's leading the way.
Absolutely.
They knew their data was valuable, but they needed a way to unlock it.
It's like having a huge library
filled
with books,
Right.
but no way to find the one you need.
That's a great analogy.
Moving to the cloud was like giving them this super organized catalog system.
Okay.
Now anyone in the company can find the data they need.
And they actually went a step further.
Oh, yeah.
They built this whole automated data pipeline
Wow.
that constantly brings new information into their systems.
So they can make decisions right away.
Exactly.
Cool. So they've got this data lake.
Right.
And it's always being filled with new data.
Yeah, like a river flowing into a reservoir.
Exactly. But what are they actually doing with all this stuff?
Right. That's the big question. How's it changing their products, their services?
Well, it's helping them do all sorts of things.
Okay.
From running their advertising to making their algorithms smarter.
Let's break that down a bit.
Right.
How does this translate to better ads, smarter algorithms?
Sure. So with advertising, they can use data to really target their ads. Like if someone's tweeting about sports all the time or following a bunch of athletes,
Right.
they're going to see ads for sports stuff.
Instead of random ads for things they'd never buy.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, that makes sense.
Makes it better for everyone.
What about the machine learning stuff?
Well, machine learning algorithms, they need data.
Yeah.
The more data they get, the better they get at, figuring things out.
So the more data they have,
Yeah.
the smarter they become.
Exactly. Twitter's got so much data now.
Right.
They can train their algorithms on this huge scale.
So it's leading to things like better spam detection,
Yep.
better content recommendations.
Right.
They can even spot and get rid of bad stuff,
Oh, yeah, that's important.
keep the platform safe.
It's like they've got these, digital detectives always looking out for bad guys.
That's a great way to put it. And we can't forget about personalization.
Oh, right.
Right. All this data helps them tailor the experience to each person.
Mm-hmm.
So your feed isn't just random.
Nope.
It's based on what you've done before,
Yeah.
who you follow,
It's all connected.
what you're interested in.
You see what you want to see.
It's like having a personal curator for your Twitter feed.
I like that.
Mm-hmm.
So we've talked about how this is all impacting Twitter.
Yeah.
But what about the bigger picture? What does all this mean, for everyone else?
It feels like we're seeing a big shift in how everyone makes decisions.
Right. Like data is becoming this new kind of currency.
Yeah. And if you know how to use it,
Uh-huh.
you're ahead of the game.
Big time. You can't just go with your gut anymore.
Right.
You got to have data to back you up
Yeah, to show you're on the right track.
and to keep getting better.
And this isn't just about companies.
Right.
It's about individuals, too.
We're all generating so much data these days.
It's true.
From our phones,
Yeah.
our computers, even our fitness trackers.
Are we using it all to our advantage? That's the question.
It is. We need to become more data savvy,
We do.
more aware of what data can do,
Right.
and how we can use it to make better choices.
So Twitter's story is a great example of what's possible.
It is. They had this big problem, but they found a really smart solution.
And it wasn't just about fixing that one problem.
It opened up so many new possibilities for them.
It shows what we can do,
Yeah,
even when things seem really complex.
totally. We can find clarity
We can get insights.
and use those insights to make things better.
And that's what the deep dive is all about.
Exploring these stories, uncovering these, like, hidden gems of knowledge.
Giving you the tools to understand this crazy world.
Exactly.
So next time you're scrolling through your Twitter feed, take a second.
Yeah.
Think about all that data flowing behind the scenes.
It's crazy.
It's driving the algorithms. Shaping the conversations.
And connecting us all in ways we don't even realize.
Keep exploring.
Yes.
Keep asking questions.
Definitely.
And keep diving deep.